Good morning. Well, I'm not gonna do this. Um, so the protests in Minneapolis, getting pretty bad. They actually just lit a police station on fire. I want to say I'm happy about that, but I'm not. I'm really not happy about this. Part of me thinks this can be used. That this isn't George Soros or some conspiracy. That these could be agent provocateurs. These are people who they bring in to steer movements and steer protests into violence. I don't want George Floyd's name to go down for this. And I don't want the actions of these people in these protests to alter what those cops did. Understand? I get what they're doing. And I feel your pain. People are dying out here, and I feel like I thought it's going in a much different direction than it probably should. But at the same time, like Shrimp Zoo said, they killed this guy on Facebook Live. I mean, I didn't even know that. I told you guys. I mean, they literally murdered this guy on camera and basically dared the crowd to do something about it. I mean, this is real thuggism. One of them called a cop a bum. No, he said it was a thug. That was a thug. And they said it was a black cop. And I didn't see him. But I heard it was a black cop. It was a supervisor there. It was Asian. You got a lot of Asians that want to be white. So when he said that technically because of Asian involved, that it's not racism, I'm like, white supremacy doesn't just mean white people. You've got plenty of blacks and Hispanics and Asians that believe in white supremacist culture, that marry white women, and nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying you got plenty of those kind of people out here. That's very real. So just because it was white, it wasn't all white cops, doesn't mean they're not white supremacists. That's a white man that doesn't understand. He's from New York. Yeah. He's from New York. He doesn't know that. You know what I mean? You got plenty of Asians and Hispanics that love country music and all the things white folks like. They do. They would love to. I want to talk about something I read this morning that made me a little bit uncomfortable about what the consciousness in the world will look like after coronavirus, or at least as it wanes, at least as it goes into the fall and come what may the next year, or come what may this fall into next year. Because I believe it'll come back. I believe things will get worse. So I was police one this morning. Georgia senators worried about law enforcement furloughs. Proposed budget cuts would force state troopers to take nearly 5 weeks off without pay. And it's really like 24 days we're talking. It's really more like 3 weeks, but whatever. They're talking about firing GBI agents as well as state troopers. They talked about how they've looked to cut every penny and all this kind of stuff. And I thought about it. They're going to probably fall back on an old tried and true method, civil asset forfeiture. If you don't know what that is, let me enlighten you. Civil asset forfeiture is when they find something in your car and they try to take your money, take your car, take anything that they say has been used during the commission of a felony, especially drugs. And there's levels of it. There's a show years ago called The Shield And in that show, they really went into it. What is this clover right here? I'm trying to figure out. I got this mother-in-law's tongue plant. I love this thing, man. I wish I could show you. I've got it's like 5 buds inside of this thing. Yeah, this is dead right here. This is what I had originally, and I put it back outside, and then boom, boom. I got like you can kind of see them, like 5 buds, and then this grew out of it. I don't know what. I know it's not poison ivy, but what is this? It's clover or something. It's really not. It's really cool. I've got a tropical plant that died, and I was messing with it. I still pouring water in it, like whatever I had left. It's growing back up. It looks like it's in a big pot, but it looks like one of these. I'm like, wow. I might start. I've been putting water in it and stuff, but in the Shield, you had to happen that a guy had been. A guy bought his mama's house with drug money, and the mama wouldn't cooperate. It took a house, put on the kids out on the street that day, and it led to police officers getting killed. Long story short, later on in the season, I see that happening. I totally see that happening, and that's going to lead to more stuff. Don't do that here. I don't think that's done here in North Carolina, but that could possibly come here, and you're going to see some people really get mad about that. I see, one thing following law enforcement and stuff, there's certain things they do, and there's certain tactics and stuff they can fall back on to really make life hell. That's one of them. I think this austerity stuff is going to be really bad for civilians as well as for state officials. Yeah. I think one thing COVID showed me is these southern states, they're really poor. There's really a lot of poverty, and they're not civilized, and they're really backwards, and they really ignore basic science. And that's what COVID-19 really showed me, is that you're dealing with people who just really don't believe in any kind of science whatsoever. I don't have a nice way to put it. I'm sorry. Peace.